Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at what unit setup will be the most well-rounded in Warpath. We've had modern units for quite a while now, and we've kind of got the gist of what's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't, what's strong, what isn't. Um, so yeah, so going with all of this knowledge, I wondered, you know, what unit setup will be like the most overall useful in the game. Not only obviously for yourself, in base defense, it'll be getting kills on the map, getting kills in base defense, having a strong defense, and being then useful to your alliance as well. So, my idea has been that you need your first killer units. This is either in the form of a helicopter, a light tank, or an artillery, or howitzer specifically, um, because helicopter and light tanks are very, very, very versatile. Light tanks obviously speed around, pick people off, kill the helicopters really quick. They're just extremely versatile and a good unit that a light tank is, you know, one of the best units right now. The same with helicopters. Helicopters are so good because they can go over the mountains, they can go over the water, they can run in behind army groups. They're so versatile as well that it puts them, top of the chain. Helicopters and light tanks are way up there in terms of usefulness. Kill income. You're not also limited to your base. You can run around the map. You're free to do whatever you want without, relying on base HP. Those two units are pretty much, I think, standard for anyone. If they've chosen the tank path first. If they haven't chosen the tank path first, they'll be going artillery. Artillery is still really good. Howitzer first, because the anti-tank gun, you're limited to, as the name suggests, killing tanks. Howitzers, you can attack bases, you kill infantry. Yeah, so like a howitzer is way more, open than an anti-tank gun is. So your first unit will be way more useful having a howitzer compared to an anti-tank gun or a rocket launcher, because I think the rocket launchers, it's a bit hit or miss. Like in some situations they're good, where they can run up, quickly burst down a howitzer and then run away. They kill infantry very fast. However, they get caught out so easily. They're like a way worse version of a light tank. That they can do the catching very easily. You send them a bomber and they'll die very easily. If a howitzer is preloaded, they will die very easily. So, rocket launcher for a first unit, not great. So those three main kill units up there. You want either the helicopter, light tank, or artillery, and then you'll be focusing your research down that specific tree. But then, what units follow? So I've been thinking you need units that are useful, like while they're not fully upgraded, because it's going to take a long, long while for you to upgrade 5 units to 9.2 if you don't have money, like say the legendary battlefield. That is a nightmare. So it's going to take you absolutely ages to get 9.2s. Typically it's about 2 land units to 1 Air Force, because Air Force materials are like twice as costly. So it's about that ratio. And then you have to think about wrenches. Wrenches you can only put into 1. If you don't have max wrenches, you're not going to be useful. So you want to find units that, when they're not maxed, they don't have the wrenches. They might not be 9.2 yet. They're still useful. What units not useful when they're not? What are useful? Sorry, when they're not fully upgraded. So the first one, as you can see, that I've got is the super heavy. I use this as basically a stat stick. It sits in my base. I've got Steel Fighter and is it Thorn Countess? They basically give my base double shield with its high HP. It gives high shield. and then I can use Golden Eagle's ability on it to give me my added base defense. You know, it's just there to buff up my base and make me slightly harder to kill, because it has the shield and the buffs on it, and that's it. It sits in my base. You know, it could tank someone's base. Majority of the time, it sits there. Following on, I have the tank tech almost completed, so a tank to use this buffs would be more beneficial to me than someone with full artillery done. So if you've gone down the line of tanks, you would go, you know, helicopter light tank. You could even, you know, go those two first, and then a super heavy, just because it's very useful when it's not upgraded. In terms of howitzers, you know, you could just go a second howitzer. Howitzer, always good. Always good. You can go the anti-tank gun. When not upgraded, they still do a lot of damage to tanks. Not upgraded, they do a lot of damage to the Air Force as well. So it stops the bombers if, you know, you put it in a howitzer group or artillery group now. You can plump it in anti-air mode and it'll protect the group very well, even when not upgraded. So in that regard, you know, your artillery is like the most well-rounded thing. Like when they're not fully upgraded, they're still the most useful. You've also got the rocket launcher, like I said before, as a main unit, not very good. As a like niche unit, extremely good. You know, if someone comes and attacks your base with infantry, that rocket launcher is going to kill that infantry very fast, and then allow your base or your maxed units to then, you know, kill all the artillery focusing, you know, kill any other unit focusing you, not that sponge that they first used, because you've got through that very quickly with a rocket launcher. So you have a lot of options for units that are useful while not upgraded. My ideal 5 would be obviously my maxed helicopter. I would also have a light tank. One unit running around getting kills, you know, let's just make that 2. Or, you know, you could go 2 helicopters, 2 light tanks, whatever. But 2 units running around getting yourself kills in any situation is huge. So I would prioritize those 2. The third, I've got the super heavy for the base stats, the base shield, and obviously the tech-wise. My 4th unit, I would suggest, is the rocket launcher, because if someone hits me with an infantry right now, I'm not going to kill that one unit, just because I don't have a howitzer, I don't have a rocket launcher to kill the infantry. So you need to, you know, think about, you know, what if they hit me with infantry? Well then, you know, a balanced base is going to have something to do with the infantry, which would be the rocket launcher, because it's the most effective at that. And 5th unit, we would have a tough choice. You know, I could go a howitzer, so I would have a rocket launcher and a howitzer, because then that would be used for stationary battles, for base killing, using the officers, etc. It does kill units pretty fast. There's the anti-tank gun, which kills tanks really fast, you know, has the anti-air. And there's also the infantry, which we could use as a last unit. So all this last unit is a preference. I would suggest everyone does have a super heavy and a rocket launcher, just because base stats and killing infantry very fast is a necessity now with the infantry update. But as a last unit, you know, you might think, yeah, just howitzer or anti-tank gun. I don't want to tank bases with infantry. Then, you know, they're not that helpful in base defense. However, there's one officer pairing that makes infantry look really appealing to me. If we scroll down, I haven't got any infantry done yet, and look at Iron Bastion. His awakened skill. Okay, if we look at the bottom, you see dealing damage to target and all enemies within a map grid of it. Okay, so that's 6 enemies, or 7 including the one it hits, with officer damage. Now imagine this hits, you know, on artillery. You do splash damage to the other artillery hitting you. You know, you could chop them up. quite decently with just this one skill, which I think, I'm leaning towards infantry just because they're going to be doing a lot of damage just naturally AoE with the officers. We can also see, firepower. It's just for this. Here's a fort. You use it to attack fortifications because you've got lots of damage that way. But that AoE ability will make your base better. And even when not upgraded, officer skills in units when they're not fully maxed still deal a lot of damage. So not max infantry with Iron Bastion and the second one. If we look at Lonesome Star, you see it gives the skill damage buff, okay, to all the officers in the infantry. So not only do you have the officer damage doing AoE from Iron Bastion, it's increased by 30% here. And then we also look at the tactical skill. As a 50% chance to deal damage to enemy troops within 2 grids, up to 3 enemy troops. Okay, so that's more AoE. So you can quite easily go through a big group of enemies with just one infantry sat in your base because of these officer skills. And that is why I'm leaning towards infantry being a really good unit just sat in your base, because they'll naturally do a lot of damage to a lot of enemies whilst not having to pump all your resources into it. So the ideal lineup for me in my head: helicopter, light tank, super heavy, rocket launcher, infantry. That will give you probably the most well-rounded base in Warpath, allowing you to have good, units to run around and get kills with. Your base defense will be really good. I mean, you could attack another player, but attacking players by yourself in these days is really rare. It's all army group based, so you don't really need to worry about killing people yourself. You have your units to give to army groups. You have your helicopter, your light tank, your howitzer, and then you've got your base you can use infantry to tank bases, your super heavy to tank bases, depending on the situation. If they've got a howitzer, you'll use the super heavy. If they've got tanks or an anti-tank gun, you use the infantry. So you've got your options, but you are the most well-rounded setup in the game. So if you've got any other ideas that I might have missed, or I also thought just popped into my head while I was thinking about AoE. If we look at Argent Flame, where is he? He's here. His skill does, Awakened skill does AoE damage as well. So you would want to have a artillery to use this guy in to do more AoE, which is huge. So yeah, in terms of AoE, that'll be on the rocket launcher. Get through infantry really fast. Your base will be very, 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 very strong if you have this set up, and I can't really think of, a better one. It might take a while to get the tech done, get all of the units, but, it's Warpath. Unless you buy it, it's going to take a long time. So at the end of the day, this will be the most well-rounded and best unit setup, in my opinion. If you've got any other ideas, leave them in comments. It's good to, do theory and see how things play out. But even if there is a really strong person watching this video, give it a test and let me know. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully that might help you decide what units you go in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.